The Red Sea, once a secure artery for global trade, is now a flashpoint. Houthi attacks have transformed this vital waterway into a battleground, forcing ships to reroute and sending shockwaves through global supply chains. The US and its allies have responded with a massive naval presence, warships on high alert, and fighter jets ready to defend. The Houthis, emboldened and well-armed, have declared their intent to strike at any vessel linked to Israel or its allies. This is no longer a regional conflict. It's a direct challenge to global order and freedom of navigation. The stage is set for a dramatic escalation, as the Houthis eye even more audacious targets. The skies above the Red Sea are now as dangerous as the waters below. US fighter jets, symbols of American air dominance, patrol relentlessly, but the Houthis are undeterred. Emboldened by past successes, they prepare to target not just ships, but the very jets that project US power. Armed with surface-to-air missiles, the Houthis gamble on a high-stakes attack, one that could shatter perceptions of American invincibility. The world watches as a militant group dares to challenge a superpower in the open. The question is no longer if, but when, the Houthis will strike. The rules of engagement in the Red Sea are about to change forever. To understand the Red Sea crisis, you must understand the Houthis. Far from a ragtag militia, they are a battle-hardened, ideologically driven force controlling much of Yemen. Their motto, "Death to America, death to Israel," drives their actions and recruitment. Years of war have made them resilient and innovative, willing to absorb losses for their cause. They see themselves as defenders against foreign interference, using the Red Sea as a stage for their geopolitical ambitions. This mix of ideology, resilience, and unconventional tactics makes them a uniquely dangerous adversary. The Houthis wield an arsenal built for asymmetric warfare: missiles, drones, and explosive-laden boats. Modified Soviet-era and Iranian-supplied missiles threaten ships from hidden launch sites. Drones, both airborne and seaborne, overwhelm defenses and strike with precision. Each attack, successful or not, imposes massive costs on their adversaries and grabs global headlines. Their strategy is attrition and psychological warfare, forcing superpowers to spend millions to counter weapons that cost a fraction. This asymmetric arsenal lets the Houthis punch far above their weight. US fighter jets are more than weapons, they're symbols of American power. For the Houthis, downing one would be a propaganda coup, shaking confidence in US dominance. Every attempted attack, hit or miss, sends a message American assets are vulnerable. By targeting these jets, the Houthis aim to undermine US credibility and embolden their cause. It's a high-risk move, but the potential reward is immense. In modern warfare, perception is as powerful as firepower. The fighter jet is no longer just a machine, it's the ultimate target in a battle for global influence. The day began like many others over the southern Red Sea. Aboard the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, the rhythm of flight operations was a familiar machine. Deep within the mountains of Yemen, preparations were underway. A Houthi surface-to-air missile unit was stirring, carefully positioned. They were hunting for an American fighter jet. Lieutenant Commander Viper Jensen settled into the cockpit of his FA-18 Super Hornet. His mission? Fly a patrol route and provide air cover. As the catapult fired, it was just another day on patrol. For the Houthi crew, the waiting was the hardest part. Wait for a target, acquire a lock, and fire. The stillness was about to be shattered. As Viper's Super Hornet climbed, he scanned the horizon. Flying over this area required heightened awareness. His job was to ensure safe passage for commercial ships, as his aircraft was a node in a network of sensors. Meanwhile, a Houthi missile crew received a signal. A spotter sighted the jet. The radar system sputtered to life, painting the sky. Inside Viper's cockpit, everything seemed normal, unaware of the trap being laid. A faint blip appeared. The predator was now in their sights. For the Houthi missile crew, tracking the American fighter jet was like trying to thread a needle in a hurricane. The Super Hornet is designed to be difficult to detect. The Houthis' radar system struggled to maintain a consistent lock. Viper continued his patrol, unaware of the activity below. The United States military had spent trillions ensuring air superiority. This confidence was about to be tested. Back at the missile site, the tension was unbearable. The commander knew their window was closing. The longer their radar was active, the higher the probability of detection. Once detected, a swift counterattack would be certain. It was a race against time. The radar operator had a partial lock. The commander made a difficult choice and gave the final authorization. They were taking a massive gamble. The launch officer's hand hovered, his eyes were glued to the console. The commander's order echoed. This was the culmination of weeks of planning. He took a deep breath. The entire Houthi movement was challenging a superpower. He knew the consequences of failure. The order was given. The gamble was on the table. He slammed his hand down on the key. With a deafening roar, the surface-to-air missile leaped from its launcher. It shot skyward on a brilliant pillar of fire. In Viper's cockpit, the world changed in an instant. A loud, piercing alarm blared through his headset. SAM launch. Years of training took over. He snapped the control stick hard, banking the jet. Simultaneously, his thumb mashed the countermeasures button. As the missile screamed towards him, something went terribly wrong for the Houthis. The gamble was about to backfire. The Houthi surface-to-air missile, a formidable piece of hardware, screamed towards the heavens, its internal guidance system desperately trying to make sense of the data it was receiving. It was supposed to be a straightforward intercept. The ground radar had provided the initial coordinates, painting a picture of a target flying a predictable path. The missile's own seeker was designed to activate in the terminal phase, locking onto the F/A-18 for the final lethal maneuver. But something was fundamentally wrong. The electronic environment the missile entered was not the empty passive sky it expected. Instead, it was a swirling chaos of digital ghosts and phantom signals, a hall of mirrors designed to confuse and disorient. This was the work of the Super Hornet's Advanced Electronic Warfare Suite, a system shrouded in secrecy and revered by those who fly with it. It is far more than just a defensive tool. It is an offensive weapon in the electromagnetic spectrum. As soon as Viper's jet detected the missile launch, its integrated systems went to work. It didn't just jam the incoming threat, it actively manipulated it. The system analyzed the missile's guidance signals and began to feed it false information, creating multiple, convincing phantom targets. The missile, once a confident predator, was now utterly bewildered, chasing shadows that flickered in and out of existence in the digital ether. On the ground, the Houthi missile crew watched their screens in horror and confusion. For a brief, triumphant moment, they had seen the missile's icons streaking towards the target's blip. But then, their screens filled with clutter. Multiple false targets appeared, moving at impossible speeds and in erratic patterns. The single solid track of the American jet was lost in a blizzard of electronic noise. They had no idea which target was real and which was a decoy. They were blind, their connection to their own weapon effectively severed. The multi-million-dollar gamble they had just made was now a rogue element, lost in a digital storm orchestrated by its intended victim. For Viper, this was a high-stakes, high-G ballet. His body was pinned to the seat by the immense forces of his defensive turn, but his mind was crystal clear. He trusted his jet implicitly. He could feel the systems working, a symphony of processors and transmitters creating a protective bubble around him. He continued to dispense flares, brilliant magnesium decoys designed to fool heat-seeking sensors, and chaff, tiny metallic fibers that created a massive radar-reflective cloud. He was throwing everything he had at the incoming threat, but the true masterstroke was the invisible, electronic battle being waged by the ghost in his machine. A battle the Houthis had no way of winning. The incoming missile was now in its terminal phase, the most critical moment of its flight. Instead, it was confronted with a masterpiece of electronic deception, performing a technique known as digital radio frequency memory, or DRFM. This technology allows the jet to record the incoming radar signal from the missile, manipulate it, and send it back, creating a false target. To its electronic eyes, there appeared to be a whole squadron of Super Hornets. The real F/A-18 was masked within this chaos. The missile, its guidance system now completely compromised, made its choice and locked onto the most appealing phantom target. It was now on a ballistic trajectory to nowhere, a spent and useless piece of metal that would soon plunge harmlessly into the vast expanse of the Red Sea. The immediate threat to Viper was over, neutralized by the overwhelming power of invisible technology. As the missile veered off course, chasing its electronic ghost, the immediate danger to Viper passed. But the encounter was far from over. In the unforgiving sky of modern combat, survival is only half the battle. The act of firing a surface-to-air missile is not a subtle one. The immense energy required for launch creates a massive heat signature. The radar systems needed to guide it emit a powerful electronic beacon. For the vast, interconnected sensor network of the United States military, the Houthi missile site had just lit a giant flashing neon sign that said, "Here I am." The hunter had revealed its own location in the most dramatic way possible. Far above the battlefield, the E-2D Hawkeye airborne early warning aircraft had been watching the entire event unfold. Its powerful saucer-shaped radar dome had detected the Houthi radar emissions the moment they were switched on. The Hawkeye's crew had seen the missile launch and had cross-referenced its point of origin with other intelligence, pinpointing the Houthi unit's location with terrifying accuracy. That precise location was instantly transmitted across the secure data network, appearing as a hostile target symbol on displays in the Combat Information Center of the carrier, on the screens of nearby destroyers, and, most importantly, in the cockpit of Viper's Super Hornet. The Houthi crew on the ground likely felt a fleeting moment of confusion and disappointment as they watched their missile go astray on their screens. That confusion would have quickly turned to sheer terror. They knew the protocol. They knew that by firing on a United States asset, they had crossed a line, and a response would be coming. Their only hope was to pack up their mobile launcher and radar systems and flee before the inevitable counterstrike arrived, but time had run out. The sky, which they had tried to use as a hunting ground, was now their greatest enemy. There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide from the retribution that was already on its way. Viper, having evaded the missile, calmly leveled his wings. The adrenaline was still pumping, but his training and focus were absolute. He had gone from defense to offense in a matter of seconds. A new symbol flashed on his heads-up display, providing the exact coordinates of the SAM site that had just tried to kill him. He now had a mission, a target, and the full authority to engage. The dramatic turn of events was complete. The Houthis had taken their shot and missed. Now it was the United States Navy's turn to respond, and their response would be swift, precise, and utterly devastating. The sky shows no mercy to those who challenge its masters. With coordinates locked, Viper turned his Super Hornet toward the Yemeni coast. The transition from hunted to hunter was seamless. Armed with GPS-guided bombs, he was an instrument of retribution. The rules were clear. An attack would be met with overwhelming force. Cleared hot, Viper initiated his attack run. With a press of a button, the bombs detached. The Houthi unit had no warning as explosions erupted, turning their position into a fireball. The message was clear. If you shoot at us, we will find you and we will eliminate you. Back on the deck of the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, the news spread. The pilot, aircraft, sensors, and command staff performed as trained. The engagement validated the Navy's technology, training, and tactics, reinforcing vigilance in the Red Sea. For Viper, the return flight was a mix of adrenaline and professionalism. The aftermath at the Houthi missile site was one of absolute devastation. What was once a deadly threat was now just smoldering craters. The explosion served as a brutal lesson. It was a severe blow to their prestige. The incident was a sobering demonstration of American resolve. A direct attack on a U.S. warplane crossed a clear red line, triggering a decisive response. The echo of the explosions reverberated far beyond. In the hours following the incident, the Pentagon and the White House moved to control the narrative. This was not a moment for triumphalism, but for calculated messaging. It confirmed that a United States Navy FA-18 Super Hornet, operating in international airspace over the Red Sea, had been targeted by a surface-to-air missile launched from Houthi-controlled territory in Yemen. The United States aircraft subsequently exercised its inherent right to self-defense, successfully destroying the missile launcher on the ground. This official United States military action was a strategic signal sent to multiple audiences. To the Houthis, the message was a direct warning. To Iran, it was a demonstration that the United States would not hesitate to destroy weaponry if it was used to threaten American forces. And to United States allies, it was a reassurance that America had both the capability and the will to protect its assets. In the days that followed, intelligence assets were surged to the region as analysts worked to identify and map out other potential Houthi air defense sites. The American response evolved into a broader, more systematic campaign to degrade the Houthis' ability to threaten aircraft in the future. The news of the Houthi attack and the decisive United States response sent ripples through the international community. Global media outlets covered the story extensively, with headlines often highlighting the audaciousness of the Houthi attempt and the high-tech nature of the American defense. For the general public, it was a dramatic, almost cinematic story of a fighter pilot outwitting a missile. For military analysts and foreign ministries around the world, however, the event was a crucial data point in the evolving nature of modern conflict. It underscored the vulnerability of even the most powerful militaries to asymmetric threats from non-state actors, while simultaneously showcasing the incredible effectiveness of cutting-edge electronic warfare technology. Regionally, the reaction was mixed and, honestly, pretty predictable. Iran and its allies condemned the American aggression against Yemen, portraying the United States counterstrikes as an illegal act and a dangerous escalation. They framed the Houthis as victims, defending their sovereignty against American imperialism. Conversely, United States allies in the Gulf, like Saudi Arabia and the UAE, who have been on the receiving end of Houthi attacks for years, breathed a quiet sigh of relief. They saw the firm American response as a positive development, a sign that Washington was finally taking the Houthi threat to regional stability with the seriousness it deserved. The incident further polarized an already deeply divided Middle East. The global economic reaction was immediate. In the wake of the news, maritime insurance premiums for vessels transiting the Red Sea, which were already at historic highs, spiked even further. Major shipping companies, some of which had cautiously resumed using the route under naval protection, announced they were once again diverting their fleets around the Cape of Good Hope in Africa. They could not risk the possibility of a Houthi miscalculation or a stray missile hitting one of their ships in the middle of a wider military exchange. The incident demonstrated that despite the powerful naval coalition, the risk was simply too high. The Houthi strategy of economic disruption, even in failure, continued to pay dividends. Ultimately, the global reaction solidified the perception of the Red Sea as a major geopolitical flashpoint. The United Nations called for de-escalation from all sides, warning of the catastrophic humanitarian consequences of a wider conflict in Yemen and the risk to global trade. World leaders urged restraint, while their militaries quietly studied the lessons of the engagement. The failed Houthi attack had inadvertently provided the world with a rare, real-world glimpse into the future of warfare. A future defined by drones, missiles, electronic countermeasures, and the constant high-stakes duel between determined proxies and technologically advanced superpowers. The world was on notice. The Red Sea encounter was a lesson in 21st century warfare. The modern battlefield is no longer defined solely by physical armor. The electromagnetic spectrum has emerged as a critical domain of conflict. The Houthis' attack highlighted the threat posed by non-state actors armed with sophisticated weaponry. It proved that low-cost missile systems can threaten advanced military assets. The age of unchallenged air supremacy is being tested. The U.S. Navy's defense was a testament to technological superiority. Mastery of the invisible battlefield is now crucial. The significance of this event for future conflicts cannot be overstated. The new rules of engagement are being written in real time. Survival will belong to those who control the invisible signals that now govern the modern battlefield. The destruction of the Houthi SAM site delivered a clear message to America's adversaries. It was a message written in fire and steel, communicating a simple policy. A direct attack on American service members will transform a defensive posture into an overwhelming offensive response. This message was aimed at the Houthi leadership and their Iranian patrons, seeking to recalibrate their risk calculus. The United States demonstrated it could eliminate threats at their point of origin with pinpoint accuracy. It signaled to allies that American security guarantees are backed by credible force. The Houthis learned a harsh lesson. The message sent that day will reverberate for years to come.